We'll be reading Acts chapter 4, verses 32 through 37. Acts 4, 32 through 37. All the believers were one in heart and mind. No one claimed that any of their possessions was their own, but they shared everything they had. With great power, the apostles continued to testify to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus. And God's grace was so powerfully at work in them all that there were no needy persons among them. For from time to time, those who owned land or houses sold them, brought the money from the sales, and put it at the apostles' feet, and it was distributed to anyone who had need. Joseph, a Levite from Cyprus, whom the apostles called Barnabas, which means son of encouragement, sold a field he owned, and brought the money and put it at the apostles' feet.
Morning. Yesterday, Charlotte and I were in Oklahoma City. We were in a car and had two of our grandkids in the back seat, Elliot and Blakely, my son's kids. We were at a stoplight, and a big old truck pulled up in the lane beside us. It was a white truck. All it said on the door was Blue Bunny. And grandson saw that, and he's an avid reader, and he just said out loud, "Blue Bunny, what's that?" And Charlotte said, "That truck's full of ice cream. If we get out and go around the back and open the back door, we can eat all the ice cream we want." Elliot said, "Nana, that would be stealing." And I said, "Elliot, that would be socialism." I want to talk about Christian socialism. See, they're never too young to learn. I want to talk about Christian socialism, two words that I think a lot of people think don't go together, and they absolutely do. I want us to understand the purview of what is trying to be accomplished with the idea of socialism, but the scripture that was read to you described it perfectly. Everybody did not consider what was theirs to be theirs. They gave to anyone as they had need. That's the goal of socialism. In fact, if you look at a definition, socialism is economic and political philosophy advocating the collective or public ownership of the means of production rather than private ownership. The core goal is to reduce economic inequality by ensuring resources are distributed based on social need rather than profit. So what was just read to you is Barnabas, who had land that was his, private ownership, capitalism, decided that he would sell that so that anyone in the church who had a need, that need could be met. That is socialism. And that is the idealist perspective, but there's caveats to this that we've got to understand. So let's look at these two verses that describe the Garden of Eden of the church, if you will. The first one's found in Acts chapter 2. They've just responded to the gospel. They've just encountered salvation, and this is their response to it. And everyone kept feeling a sense of awe. Many wonders and signs were taking place through the apostles. And all those who believed were together and had all things in common. And they began selling their property and possessions. Let me stop there. See, they have private ownership. There is capitalism here. But they chose to sell those. They began selling their property and possessions and were sharing them with all as anyone might have need. Day by day, continuing with one mind in the temple, breaking bread from house to house, they were taking their meals together with gladness and sincerity of heart, praising God, having favor with all the people. And the Lord was adding their number daily, such as were being saved. Part of the attraction of verse 7 is what's going on in their lifestyle, verse 42 and following. Their lifestyle of living together, taking their meals together, being a commune in a sense, if you would. But that sharing, that all things in common, that if you have a need, we're going to meet it. And we're going to expect you to share what you have, etc. Very communal, very, as we would describe it, socialistic. Now, this came from their choice. This was not forced on them. This was not something the government said you're going to have to do. It's not something the apostles said you were going to have to do. It came out of charity. It came out of love. It came out of compassion. Guys, this was part of their response to the gospel. The Lord has given me his son. Jesus has given me not only his life, but he's given me my life. How do I respond to that? I share my life like he shared his. And the congregation of those who believed were of one heart and soul. Not one of them claimed that anything belonging to him was his own, but all things were common property to them. All the ice cream we can eat. The problem is that Bluebell did not have the compassion for those of us in our truck to share their possessions with us. That would have been charity and destructive. With great power, the apostles were giving witness to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and abundant grace was upon them all. And there was not a needy person among them, for all who are owners of the land or houses would sell them and bring the proceeds of the sales, lay them at the apostles' feet, and they would distribute to each as any had need. You see, no one in that group went and took something from someone else. No one went to the apostles and said, you need to have Charles give me his lawnmower. That's not what was happening. What was happening, folks, out of their response to the gospel, they were saying, hey, I've got some land I don't need. Let me sell that. But they brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet and said, want you to distribute this to anyone that has need. Part of that is, I don't trust my own perception, okay? You want men with wisdom to do this, okay? So they were very socialistic, but the difference was nobody was forcing this. Leaders of the church weren't forcing it, the government wasn't forcing it, and that's the problem with human socialism. But also, as we'll see, the problem with human capitalism is very, very similar. What's the difference then? Joseph, a Levite of Cyprian birth, who was also called Barnabas by the apostles, which translated means son of encouragement, and who owned a tract of land, sold it and brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. Who decided that wealth was going to be shared? Who decided that those goods were going to be distributed? In this case, the owner of the goods. Why? Because they loved Christ. Why? Because they had received so much. I want to share. That's what love does. I want to share. And so here's Barnabas. I've got land. I've got brethren in need. Let me sell the land. But he brought it to the apostles. They didn't require this of him. No one required this of him except his response to Jesus. Guys, if we had charity in our hearts, if Americans had true charity in our hearts, we would be neither capitalistic nor socialistic. We would just share. But you see, what's the missing ingredient? The gospel, the motive, the love. Because God is love. Without God, you're not going to be able to do this. But how do you define love? It's demonstrated at the cross. It's demonstrated in the gospel. That's what they're responding to. It's not just their love for fellow man, because we assume that they cared about people. We assume they were good citizens. But their motives changed and their perceptions changed when they responded to the message of how God loved them as demonstrated in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. Now, guys, we've seen the abuses of capitalism. Materialism. Materialism doesn't mean money. It means that things that have material have value and anything else doesn't. That's one of the problems of capitalism. It imbues to things that have material value or wealth or purpose. We've seen greed. What goes along with greed is waste. Now, I want to share this with you because it's really had a profound impact on me. You know, Charlotte and I like to go on cruises, okay? And the reason I like to go on cruises is because you get away. I mean, you get away. Back in the first days that we did it, you couldn't even get in touch with us, you know. And understand, early in our ministry, anytime I would plan on taking vacation, someone would die and we would come back to do a funeral. And it got to where when we were going to take a vacation, Charlotte would say, I wonder who's going to die. When you got on a ship, nobody could get in touch with you. I mean, you could sit out on a deck chair with a book and just relax, see the ocean and all of that. One of the things that has impressed me in these, and it's made me very self-conscious, not in a negative way, is so many of the folks that work on cruise ships that serve you, their service is amazing and excellent and all that. Many of them come from Indonesia, come from places like China, come from Africa. Very few of them are from the United States because we wouldn't put up with it. And I watched them watch Americans waste food like crazy. I watched them clean up after folks that, hey, that looks good, I'm going to take it. I don't like that. I'm not going to eat it. And it gets thrown away. And I've watched the eyes of those, and you have to watch for it because they're very guarded. And that part has made me very embarrassed to be American. Because I know that they would love to pack up those leftovers and send them back home. And we don't think a thing about it. We're so blessed to the point of our wealth is wasteful. And we waste without even thinking about it. And some of you, if you touch the Depression, I touched the Depression through my mom and dad who were raised during the Depression. If it was on your plate, you ate it. And the question wasn't, do you like it? The question is, can you choke it down, then eat it? We do not waste. I told you about when I was in elementary school, I had an assignment and I had a piece of notebook paper and I started writing on it and I didn't like the way it was going, so I wadded it up and threw it away. And my dad said, what are you doing? Guys, it came in packets of 500 sheets. What are you doing? I said, well, I didn't like the way it was going. I'm going to start over. It had another side. You can turn the thing over. What are you wasting a sheet of paper? And I'm like, oh man, why are you going so nuts about a sheet of paper? Because my mom still had aluminum foil from World War II. It's all crinkled, had veins on it and all of that. I would kid her about it. I would hold it up and say, I think I can see the Air Force symbol from where this was used on an airplane. Because they conserved. Because you learn that everything had value, etc. And there's no such thing as wasting things. They made things out of everything. They recycle. They were the original recyclers in our culture. The abuses of capitalism are power inequality, where if you have wealth, it brings greater access. Economic instability. Our economy is based on how stock market goes and things like that. It's very unstable. The commodification of essentials like healthcare, education, see, those become commodities. And if you can pay for them, you can get them. If you don't pay for them, you don't get very good. All of this is the downside of capitalism. And don't just defend it because we've always had it. Always be objective. Yes, it's a great system to live in, but it has its downside. Socialism is a great system to live in, but it has its downside, and it all comes down to human greed. It all comes down to lack of compassion, lack of love, lack of charity. Abuse of socialism is found in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3. For even when we were with you, we used to give you this order. If anyone will not work, neither let him eat. For we hear that some among you are leading an undisciplined life, doing no work at all, but acting like busybodies. Now such persons we command and exhort in the Lord Jesus Christ to work in a quiet fashion. Eat their own bread. Now wait a minute. Are you supposed to eat your own bread or are you supposed to share somebody else's bread? It's where the need is. So here's an abuse of their socialism. Guys, this idea was so important to God that right after Acts chapter 4, when we see the epitome, the example of Barnabas selling land and bringing the money and laying it at the apostles' feet, and then very next chapter, we have two people that have land and they sell it. They keep some of the money and give the rest of the money, and apparently represented to everybody that they had given all the proceeds. As Peter told them, when you had the land, it was yours to deal with. When you sold it, it was yours to deal with. Why did you deceive the Holy Spirit by saying, see, what they were trying to say was, oh, we're all on board with charity. We're all on board with sharing everything. We're going to be just like Barnabas, and we're going to share what we have, but we're going to hold some back because there's greed there. And they died. No. God struck them dead. That's how important this charity and sharing and love thing. God was making a public spectacle of those who were professing to be socialistic in this sense, but were actually being capitalistic and greedy. He was protecting the purity of that sharing spirit in the church. And he hadn't been striking people dead in a long, long time. Now he's made an example of two of them because they were threatening the very spirit of love that was the response to the gospel. And then we see writing here, you got people that don't work. You got people who are living undisciplined life. If they don't work, they don't eat. What if they can't work? Then we feed them. It's very simple. It's what's in the heart. Wastefulness is endemic to capitalism. Mindfulness is endemic to stewardship. And I want to challenge your mindfulness today. I want to challenge your thoughtfulness today. Because in our culture, we have been raised to be lazy in our stewardship. And I'll explain that. Everything that we have, everything the church has is on loan from God. There are all many tests of how well we do with little things. Little things do not mean insignificant. Little things are the test for trust for big things. I have no idea what in this passage we're going to look at when it says, you were good over little things, I'm going to set you over much. Enter the joy of your master. I don't know what that means. And let me show you the passage. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also had, he with the 2 talents came forward saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. And his master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. You see, it's a paradigm. It's a metaphor for heaven. It's a metaphor for judgment day. I have given you things to be accountable for. I have given you my money, and I want you to use it to bring to me a return. And they brought a return based on what he had given them. You see, it's about stewardship. What did you do with my money? It's not your money, it's mine. What did you do with it? Well, I invested it, but I only got this return. Well done. I've given you a little. And guys, that's not a whole lot of money. I've given you a little, and you've proved yourself worthy. Now, I'm going to over great things. Does that mean in heaven? Does that mean that what I have done here, if I've taken care of the little things, he's going to give me a role or a job, a position in heaven over great things? I don't know. But whenever he does that, I want it. Not because I want to be over great things. I want him to be proud of me. Don't you? I want him to say, well done. I have given you little things. You have done well with them. Now watch how much I'm going to trust you. That's what I want him to look with those eyes at me. It's easy to lose focus. It's easy to become distracted. Thoughtfulness is proactive behavior. It's not natural because we're fallen people. Thoughtful means I have to purposely, proactively think. Mindfulness, which is situational awareness, is proactive behavior. What sets them apart is when you're proactively thoughtful, not just when something comes to mind. I'm choosing to think about this. I'm choosing to think about my stewardship in small things. And guys, that's what on the ship, I'm choosing to think about what I'm going to do with this food that I've chosen, that it's all you can eat. And it's so easy to abuse that. Like Paul said, I buffet my body daily. I believe it, okay? But here's the thing. Take what you need and don't take what you're not going to use. And certainly don't take what you're not going to use and destroy it. Because I have blessed you with plenty to watch how you deal with it. There's the test. There's the discipleship. There's the stewardship. Now, in our country, we pay into a big pot, right? We all on April 15th, we all pay into a big pot. And what we pay doesn't change. It's based on our income. Well, it changes every year, I understand. But what I pay doesn't change. What is doled out from the pot does not directly impact my payments every year. See, that's what the government decides is who's going to take that money, where it's going to go, and all of that. But I will guarantee you, if we were billed for services rather than taxed for them, there would be no government waste. Are you following me? If rather than taking your money on April 15th and then the government doling it out, if the government billed you for what it costs to live in the United States for everybody, you would account for every dollar on that bill and every itemization. And you'd be saying, well, I don't know why we're spending so much on a presidential library. I don't think we, and on and on and on. But because there's not a connection between what we give and where it goes, we don't feel like we have say. And so we just pay the money, etc. And is there waste? It says yes. It says no. Is there waste? Yes. Because that pot we pay into's got a huge hole in it, doesn't it? Got a bunch of huge holes. Now, I want you to understand, in stewardship, we contribute to a pot. We did that this morning. Plates were passed, and based upon our income, based proportionate with what we make, we contributed into a pot of money, right? Now, what happens, how that money is spent, does not impact our giving. I'm going to give based on how I've prospered. I'm not billed by the elders of what it costs to be a member of this congregation or what our missions cost or whatever. We contribute it because we love Christ and we share that. And then it's distributed by modern day apostles, so to speak. We lay it at their feet. How we impact that spending impacts our contribution. Let me explain that. Of the money that you give, how much of it goes back to you? Directly or indirectly? Guys, you understand those that study these things say about the contributions of a congregation, about 93% goes back to the members of the church and providing housing, providing electricity. That encourages wastefulness and mindlessness. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to give you some specific instructions in just a minute. What it means is you pay into a pot. You're not billed for what it costs for all the things that the church does, so you don't necessarily feel a connection between those two. That encourages wastefulness. That encourages mindlessness. Let me give you one preview. So if I leave debris all over the pew, we got somebody who'll take care of that. And we'll pay somebody to take care of that. So I can be wasteful and disrespectful, and we'll pay somebody to take care of that. We'll pay somebody to take the food that I don't eat on the ship and throw it away. I know, it got quiet because I quit preaching and went to meddling, didn't I? I'm talking about being mindful and being purposeful in our stewardship. What sets us apart is how we deal with the little stewardships that we have. Don't take what you don't need and use what you take. It's very simple. So leaving debris in the pew, as I said, taking a take-home assignment sheet. Oh, and I forgot to bring it back next week, so I'm going to take another one. You see, it's not about printing costs or anything like that. It's about mindfulness. It's about stewardship. Remember, he said, you did so good over the little things, I'm going to give you the great things. And guys, it's the little things that we overlook in our stewardship. It's the little things that we overlook in our responsibility. We say, I only got one talent, so what's the point? Can't do much with it anyway, so I'm going to bury it. It's not about cost, it is about stewardship and making sure that what we give into this big pot goes where it needs to go and not cleaning up after us. And I don't mean that in a literal sense, but it can include literal. Let's go back to that. Not bringing a Bible to class or assembly. Oh, they'll provide one. And we will. But you're a steward over the word. We're not a steward over your stewardship of the word. And we don't think about it. We just take it for granted. Oh, I can find one anywhere. I've got 20 copies at home. I'll get another one. And you see what I'm saying? If you see something that needs to be done, do it. On Wednesday, Charlotte and I had the favor of Weldon's company. We went to Brahms, and when we got back here, he got out of our car, and right over there in our parking lot, there was debris that had fallen out of somebody's car. And Weldon, without a word, without anybody saying anything, picked it all up and took it into a trash can. You know why? Because he's obsessive compulsive. No. You know why? Because he's proud to be a part of this. And I don't mean pride in a prideful way. You see, that was detracting from this. And he saw it, and he knew it didn't belong there, and he knew it was litter, and he knew that it littered our parking lot, and he picked it up, and he took it to the trash. You know, I've said for years, if our Christian colleges were really Christian colleges, you'd never found litter on them. Because everybody pick it up. Nobody put it there in the first place. It'd have to blow from somebody else's house. But we would pick it up because this is our college. This is our community. We're proud of this community. But even if we're not proud, this is stewardship on its very fundamental level. Taking care of what we all share. The capitalist in us says, it's not my problem. The socialist in us says, this is my community. And I want to protect it. I want to provide for it. I want to be a good steward of everything that God presents to me. And he's looking at how well I do in the small things. Back in the 90s and into the 2000s, when companies were looking about pursuit of excellence, and there were so many books written about pursuit of excellence. There was one author talking about when you get on an aircraft and you sit down, if there are coffee stains on your fold-down tray table, that can suggest to you they've got bad engine maintenance. Because if they're not taking care of this, why do I think they're not taking care of that? And he was saying, in the details, you find the truth of your stewardship. God said, in the little things. But that's so-and-so's job. That's Don's job, Cam. That's Sam and Joyce's job. Pick up this paper towel I just let fly. That's your stewardship. And it's the little things that God is looking for to see how dedicated you are to what you say you believe. And guys, it's so easy for us to overlook this, so easy for us to forget this. It's so easy for us to become complacent. And he says, I want you to be mindful. I want you to be thoughtful. I want you to be purposeful. So I'm going to patrol. After this assembly, I'm going to check your pews. And I'm going to take names. No, you see, now we just got capitalistic. I'm going to threaten you. I'm going to expect your love for God to be demonstrated in your stewardship of everything over which you have influence or control. And if we take care of those things, the big things will take care of themselves. Because we will be purposeful in all things. Brothers and sisters, this comes down to living purposefully, but also living socially. Can we help you in that walk? It's easy to become complacent. It's easy to become capitalistic and wasteful and negligent. It's easy to take more food than you need and throw it away. And I hope at lunch you'll be mindful of this. Even if it means you're going to put on 2 pounds because you eat everything on your plate. I want you to be mindful of that. Because like your parents told you, there are people in the world who are starving. And how do you give an account? Can we help you in your walk? Can we help you in your purposefulness? There'll be men at the back, men at the front. Let's talk. Because brothers and sisters, if we don't get the little things right, he's not going to trust us with anything else. Can we help you? Come as we stand and sing, would you?
Or are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you fully